people, let's begin.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This might be good or bad, but I only speak English and I speak really fucking fast. So I'll do my best to not go too fast, but I like to talk fast because I get excited about what I do.
Okay.
And it's weird talking to a computer, but I could see some of your faces, so you look engaged. So first of all, I want to thank Miami Ad School for having me do this talk. I mean, I've done a lot of talks, you know, for people, for groups, for advertising groups. I generally only really like to do talks to students, to people that are new to the industry, that are the future of what this industry is going to bring. First of all, I hope that everyone is healthy and being safe and staying at home and not too bored out of their mind. I'm assuming most of you are still on some sort of lockdown like we are here in Chicago. Every day we get on the phone at the Times. We use FaceTime. We don't use Zoom because I think Zoom is it feels very like a corporate program to me, and it feels like advertising agencies do Zoom. We like just to do FaceTime, so we're all just doing it on our iPhones. But every day we talk, and every one of us has the same feeling in our chest and in our stomach. We're like, fuck, how much longer can this shit go on? Because I could take maybe one more day of it, but then another day and another day and another day. So I think that I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of how we're working right now and how we're set up to work, and how this whole kind of fucked up situation that we're in has actually been proof of concept of the agency we built and kind of really leaning into our benefit. Can everyone hear me? Are we good? Cool. I'm going to share a screen, and I'm going to go through a presentation. I'd like to do first a advertising history lesson. And I've been doing this a long time. I've been doing this. I was doing math in my head. I'm not good at math. I'm not good at science, but I'm really good at art and creativity, and I'm really good at communicating and talking to people. But I've been doing this for over 25 years. And a lot of people say, because I'm very critical of the industry of advertising, that I don't like advertising, which is the exact opposite of what it is. I feel truly blessed and honored to have a creative career, to get paid to do this. And I love the advertising industry. I don't love the state of the advertising industry and how it sort of operates and it works. I'm going to share my screen. Hold, please. Business, ever see that? All right, cool. Like I said, we're going to start out with a little bit of a history lesson. And I'm going to click. Hang on, controls. I can't see your responses, but I'll just play them in my head. Does everyone know who this guy is? I'm going to assume that you go to ad school, so maybe like 10% of you will know who it is because you're kind of ad nerds like myself. But if you're over the age of 30, chances are you don't know who this is. But this guy's name is Bill Bernbach. He is the godfather of advertising. He was a guy who started an agency that you would all know today called DDB. It's called Doyle Dane Bernbach, advertising legend. What he's the most famous for and why he's so inspirational to me, this is a guy that innovated and changed the advertising industry, that brought it out of the 1950s advertising into conceptual, narrative-based advertising. And he had a simple idea of taking an art director from the art studio and a copywriter from the copy studio, who at the time worked in separate rooms and didn't work together on things, But the idea is to put them together to work on advertising as you students and as you people in the industry now work in teams, coming up with ideas and creating them together. So he's an amazing innovator and a historical figure in advertising. But there's one problem when it comes to Bill Bernbach is that he is dead. He's no longer with us. Rest in peace. Next little piece of history is this guy here. I'm assuming nobody knows who he is except for maybe one or two of you elder people. This is a man named Jay Chiat. He started an agency called Chiat Day. In the 1980s, he innovated the industry and he brought into the function of planning and strategy into the creative process by importing what we call today as planners or strategists that they were using in the UK, mainly at an agency called BMP, and brought them into the creative process. So now with Jay Chiat in the mid 80s, we had art directors and copywriters paired with a planner or a strategist who was working on the brand strategy from a client and an agency point of view to make the work and inform the work, and also as a tool to help and sell better creative work. But Jay Chiat, also like Bill Bernbach, is also dead, which sort of sucks because he's a huge inspiration to me. I met him when I was probably 23 years old and was a big influence on what I do today. This is me. My name is Jason Peterson, and I'm the founder of an agency here in Chicago called The Times. We just celebrated our 1-year anniversary. And the good news is, God, I'm skipping. Wait. I'm not dead. I'm alive. I just don't know how to use Zoom. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about, first I'm going to give you guys some background on me because I realize that some of you may know pieces about me. Some of you may not. A lot of times people know me from a lot of my photography or work that I do on social media, and they don't know a lot of my advertising work. So I'm going to share, bear with me, this is definitely we're going to go back into medieval times. So this is a historical reel of some advertising work that I've done over the times.
We are moments away from the much anticipated press conference. It's about to begin. Let's listen in. Thank you for coming out. I have an announcement to make that will come as a shock and surprise to some of you. I have decided to retire from the field of entertainment so that I may pursue a dream. I want to play in the NBA. I know that some of you will have questions. Why are you doing this? I have achieved everything possible in my own field. I am at the pinnacle of my industry and I have nothing else to prove. No, not an Oscar, no. Were you nominated? No, I wasn't nominated either, no. But I have an Emmy for writing.
A little backstory on that. If any of you are watching The Last Dance on ESPN, this launched at the time when Michael Jordan first left the NBA. The NBA was my client in New York City. Their business completely tanked when Michael Jordan left the NBA for the first time to join, to try to play baseball. This is a campaign I did with Bill Murray. Next.
Yay!
Southside, outside, west side, let's ride. East side, right, east side, Lake Shore Drive, and I'm Chi-Town finest. Where you at? The whole city.
Atlanta, home of the movies and the really tight skirts. Nobody gets hurt from Decatur down to CP and ED. Feel it, DT. Okay, what up?
White tees with hair ones in every color like iced tea. I might go crazy. Confidence right knee. The way I paint pictures with these hip hop scriptures. Where you at? The whole city behind us. Where you at? The whole city behind us. South side, outside, west side, let's ride. Where you at? The whole city behind us. I keep this for myself.
Back in the day, Fat Joe's friend Julio chirped him to invite him to a show.
And the rest is history. But without Boost, he'd stay on that corner. But he discovered a weird ability to communicate with animals.
Why you bugging? He said his tooth hurts.
Word of Joe's skills spread fast, and he parlayed this street-level buzz into a career as a pet psychiatrist.
Nice pause. That's what's up. How does it make you feel when she does that?
What does she say?
Please.
Tell him I love you unconditionally. Come to me.
He'll come back.
But luckily for us, and for Fat Joe, he has Boost Mobile.
Where you at?
Where you at?
The last time he flirted with danger, danger got clingy. He once received a standing ovation from a juror's box. His thank you cards have prompted your welcome cards. He is the most interesting man in the world.
I don't always drink beer, but when I do, I prefer Dos Equis. Stay thirsty, my friends.
He once gave a pep talk so compelling, both teams won. Your guess is as good as his. On second thought, no, it's not. When he whispers to a horse, it whispers back. He is the most interesting man in the world.
I don't always drink beer, but when I do, I prefer Dos Equis. Stay thirsty, my friends.
Snacks and stuff taken. Oh, what is going on in here? It's okay, relax. Watch this. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Hey, Dave.
Wow. Is that your agent? It's the jingle. Try it.
No.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
With the sandwich.
Oh, and the girl from 4E? And can I get a hot tub? Find out what else State Farm agents can do for you at whyagent.com.
Okay, that's the end of our history lesson. I'm going, or that piece of it. Wait, I gotta go slide 16, sorry. So this gets us to, that work and a bunch of other work gets us to the year 2010. In 2010, most of you were probably in elementary school or maybe even probably that sort of age. But the advertising industry was talking about, and there are articles written about social media every single day, around Twitter, around this launch of this new program called Instagram, around Facebook, and what was this going to do to advertising. And I sat in meetings after meetings after meetings, and I sort of decided that I don't like to sit in meetings to talk about meetings that get nothing really accomplished. So I decided to refocus my career and to solely focus on understanding social platforms better than anyone in advertising. So I opened an Instagram account. I opened an Instagram account in the beginning of 2011. I opened a Twitter account earlier that year. I opened a Tumblr account and a Flickr account. and I brought in the nerdiest guy in our ad agency, and I cleared my entire schedule. And I said, we're going to spend every morning for 5 hours just doing social media. And I decided to do it for myself. I've been a photographer, and I've done photography my entire life since I've been in junior high school. I learned to shoot on film, develop my own photos in a dark room. I wasn't really into the advent of social media that I really got into digital photography. So I spent every single day what I considered to be working out for my day job, which was advertising, for my quest to understand social media better than anyone. So I took a couple photos.
I got muscles like Superman trainer. Real rare like Super Saiyan manga. I jump, stomp on Lucifer's stage. Now I got a few rings on Jupiter's skating. I meant to say Saturn, switched up the pattern. Smoking on some shatter, got me higher than a ladder. Thanks, I'm flatter, my baby mama batter. You look like.
So that's some work that I've shot specifically within and around the music industry. Now currently, this is what my Instagram looks like. I have 1.5 million followers on Instagram. I'm on every single social platform. For the past 1.5 years, all I've been doing is obsessing about TikTok, which we'll get into in a little bit, because social media platforms are the flavor of the day, and they will shift and they will change. The things that won't shift and change is the creativity that goes into these platforms. A lot of people ask me, how did you become so successful on social media platforms? And I truly believe it's a simple solution, is that if you put out the most excellent work in the world, everything else will take care of itself. There's no secret. There's no hashtagging. There's no buying followers. There's no cheats to it. Great talent will lead people to come to you. And I believe this for myself, but I also believe this for brands. So we're going to get into modern days. This is the current times. 1 year ago, and a couple of times, members. We have members, we don't have employees. Everyone is a shareholder in our company. This is a cohesive group that we sort of work in. A couple people are on the call as well. We launched exactly 1 year ago it would be a year ago in January that we launched. I'm kind of official in February. We're working out of Greg's apartment for the first month. I do want to get into, especially for some of you students and some people in advertising will sort of get this, about really understanding the field that you're going to get into or that you might be in, but how to look at how advertising actually works, how we go from a brief from a client to the end result of what a lot of you do in creative and strategy or account management of creating work for clients. Hang on, I'm going to switch this. Wait, I skipped, sorry.
This is how advertising works. Client has a brief. Then there's a meeting to discuss the meeting about the meeting. And that's how advertising begins.
1 week later.
And there's a meeting at the client, come up with a 10-page, not so brief, and they set up a meeting to talk about the brief with the whole team. And then the account director calls the account manager, the head of client service, president of the agency, CFO, resource manager, to assign teams to work on the brief. And then in a week, 2.5 meetings later on the conference call to discuss the client's ask. And they called another meeting with the creative team and informed them that this is the brief. And they have run out of time. And they will need to work over the week. And the creative director comes in and says things like, look at it differently. And the client is unsure of the work. And then the agency says, we should put in some research. The account director writes down what the people say. And then they go back to the agency to make new changes to the work. Informs the client, the consumers now love the work. The team gets on a conference call with the production company. And then one creative director, one creative team, 3 account people, 4 clients fly offshore to shoot a spot, edit the work. One TV spot is shipped to the network and aired. And no one buys the client's products because no one buys advertising. And that's how advertising works.
So kind of under that premise, this is how advertising operates when I was first in the industry, and that's how it still operates today. There are over 28 different roles and titles within an agency. And then within that, there are hierarchies of junior level to senior level to CEOs. But from account to strategy to creative, there are 28 different roles and responsibilities. It's my complete belief this is the reason why the majority of time when you work in an ad agency is spent in meetings. You spend in meetings to get the small pieces of the business all together and aligned. You do one piece of the puzzle, you do one piece of the puzzle, you do one piece of the puzzle. and you spend the majority of your time in meetings talking about the work rather than doing the work. So when we started the Times, we started with a white sheet of paper, and I wanted to get at a new way to create content, advertising, and marketing for clients in a different sort of way. This is no knock against people who may do different things within an agency. I decided to create a new model, which is singularly focused on creative output and creative sort of work. But we call ourselves an advertising agency. We only have two roles in our agency. We have creators and producers. The job of those creators and producers is very similar. They take a brief from a client. The client tells us the brief. These two people, as a creator and a producers, are tapped into what's going on in culture. They are understanding, living and breathing what's going on in social media, what's going on in art, what's going on in music, what's going on in the culture of our consumers. So they're able to create an idea together. They take the brief from the client. They create an idea for the client. They tell the client the idea. They turn around in our production studio in the Times and they create the content live. I don't believe in big production budgets. I don't believe in any restraints. I think that this here device, iPhone, social media, has completely revolutionized and changed our lives, but it hasn't changed the industry that we worked in. So we wanted to create a different sort of model to do that. This is a little video. It's going to explain it a little more poetically than I do. But this is truly about the evolution of moving from creatives to creators. It has nothing to do with being a copywriter or an art director or a strategist. It has to do with the evolution of, we have the ability to have ideas, and we have the ability and the technology in front of us to make all of those ideas to the highest level of production quality with no restraints on budget or time, because right now everything has to happen instantly.
Advertising is broken. The black and white cookie cutter TV made formula is outdated. Putting a copywriter with an art director made sense in the 60s. Brand narratives worked in a one-dimensional space. But our industry has changed. Let's take that model and stomp on it. Welcome to the creative revolution. It's been happening right in the palm of your hand. All you need is an idea and a phone, because budgets and time are no longer barriers. Teachers become filmmakers. Baristas become photographers. Housewives become bloggers with 1 million subscribers. They were told they couldn't do it until all the tools they needed appeared in one place. Creatives are now creators. So why is our industry still doing the same damn thing? Our approach to brand storytelling needs to change with the evolution of content creation and culture. Social media shouldn't talk at you. It talks with you. Stop making ads and start listening. Then start making culture. Make art, make music, make fashion. Make your motorcycle into a Star Wars speeder bike and ride it through downtown New York. Just make something. Nothing is standing in the way of a good idea anymore, and people are making those ideas right now. Look at your phone, your camera, your drone. Everyone in the world has one. What are you going to do with it?
Here's a couple, I'm going to share a couple pieces of work. This is an overall creative reel for the last year. And then here's a couple other examples of some of the specific work that we've done for clients. In the past year, we've created over 2,500 pieces of advertising and marketing for different clients. This is a social media post we did for White Claw. I don't know if you don't have White Claw in Mexico yet, but it's coming and launching there, and we're doing all the work for it. White Claw is a sparkling seltzer. It's basically like a sparkling flavored water with alcohol, and is the single most popular drink in the US. I'm sure some of you may know it, but we were lucky enough to be at the inception of this brand. So we've created all of their social and digital, sort of marketing. What's really interesting about this is they pay us a retainer to create their advertising for us, but it's how we sort of make this work ourselves. This here is Liam and Lexi in a water fountain in a shitty motel in Tampa, Florida, creating this piece of work that you just saw there. This is another piece. This was created this fall for the launch of a new flavor called Mango. This was created in the studio for the Times, like this. We didn't know how to make a leaf tornado, so we got some cardboard and some 2x4s, and we built it ourselves. Production and quality of production is a myth. Anyone can shoot the most amazing creative content. They have the ability to do it. The problem with our advertising industry, you're not allowed to do or make anything for a lot of different reasons, mainly because of some of the things I talked about, the different roles and responsibilities, but also most agencies are a member of SAG Signature, which is Screen Actors Guild, so they're unionized. You're not allowed to pick up a camera. You're not allowed to shoot stuff. You're not allowed to make stuff yourselves. The Times is a new model agency. We're not part of any sort of union or any SAG Signature. Hang on. This is we have Hulu, which is a television provider or a content provider. So we created for them. We had this brief from a lot of different clients, but for Hulu, they wanted to create social and digital buzz during the Super Bowl. But like a lot of clients, they had no money. So they had Super Bowl expectations, but they didn't have any sort of Super Bowl budgets. So we decided to tap into kind of a hot thing in culture, which is some social media stars called Chiclet and Milani. I don't know if any of you know them, but Chiclet and Milani are YouTube, Instagram, Twitter sort of sensations. They're kind of a couple that love to be very overt about their relationship and about how they basically argue all the time and hate each other, but love each other at the same time. So we decided to create this social media campaign with them for the Super Bowl, where we invited them to come to the Super Bowl, but we only gave them one ticket. So they had to decide who was going to go to the Super Bowl.
Yo, shout out to Hulu for sending the ticket to the big game, man. I appreciate it.
Who said you going?
Oh, this is mine.
Sound like it's hot boy summer. It ain't no damn hot boy summer.
That's just a joke. Why you girls gotta be so mean?
Get over here. Model it for them now.
Look at her toenails, bro. Them shit is dripping. You see it? I love her.
Oh, damn, I'm fine. Let her try me. Oh, damn, I'm time. Go.
So we let their fans decide who would go to the Super Bowl, which was decided. This campaign was very successful for Hulu. Hulu's goal for us was pretty simple, is they just wanted to gain Instagram traction, which means they wanted more engagement and more followers. This campaign generated over 100,000 followers for Hulu. This was the results.
Yo, shout out to Hulu for sending the ticket to the big game, man. I appreciate it.
Who say you going?
Oh, this is mine.
Go.
Go, let's go. Lane thinks I'm mad because she's at the big game. I'm watching this in the crib on Hulu. Come feet up.
This. We created that last week for Hulu. This is another thing. So I want to talk a little bit about strategy and about culture itself. We have a practice that we do at the Times called Internet Superhighway, which is very, very simple. We meet on Mondays and Thursdays. Usually we meet in person, sit around a table. We've been meeting on FaceTime. Every single person who works at the Time has to come in our meeting with 3 to 4 things that are going on the internet right now, and we share and we discuss those. We issue a report of those links of the different things that might be trending or sort of going on in the world to our clients. This is what we believe is modern strategy, tapping into what's going on in culture. The thread that runs through all of our work is cultural relevance, and this is a piece about it, especially with younger people. Focus groups or deep strategic researches aren't going to tell you anything. It's only going to eat up a lot of time and a lot of clients' sort of money. we know what's going on in culture. We know what's going on the internet. We know what's going on Twitter. But a lot of times within an agency, those things aren't shared. We use it as an open documentation of here are the things that are going on right now. And we turn around to our clients and create work against this. This was trending last week. This is a thing called casual float, where a lot of people are using and creating these images of them that look like they're floating, you know, in the air. Daniel, one of our creators, created this for Hulu that we posted and created for them and went across Instagram and Twitter and all their sort of channels. So jumping on to this sort of like trend and these things that were happening right now shows relevance for Hulu. They get and understand their core audience. So they're not speaking 3 months after the fact when something is dead and gone. They're speaking about it as trends are sort of rising and sort of happening. A couple other pieces of work, and then I'll open up to questions. I know some of you might be chatting, but I'm not looking at it. We'll do it at the end.
Takes over the country to use free press and newspapers.
How about this? Yes. The most Instagram sneaker ever.
I got healthy in the carry. I got black love and marriage. They gon' say you can't have it, but I'm like, we gon' break the thing.
Second to the thing that's so
it ain't about where you been, where you from, what you got. It's all about love. Self-love is the best love. When you go take that wristband out, that bitchy party been over. Don't need makeup, just you up. I get work on the bathroom floor, just me eat mine and headphones for. So let this like to teach you. I hope this is teach you. Put your hands up. Play catch with the honey. Stuff is the new money. I'm chilling with the homies, coming with a heart. Put your hands up. Play catch with the honey. Stuff is the new money. I'm chilling with the homies, coming with a heart.
So it's a campaign we did for Kanye and Yeezy and Adidas for the Triple Whites. Couple more pieces we've done for Kanye.
I see a series of factories being built. I see ex-offenders having jobs. I see ex-gang members having jobs. I see a rise of businesses throughout the community that will help raise the economic structure of the community, as well as us spreading the arts throughout the schools and communities that we have in CPS, and the fact that he's going to acquire these other schools. We got a whole lot of shit, man, that can come from today. And they touched on all these issues and shit. You know, Larry coming home, the perfect narrative is he comes home, he has his own factories, and all these guys that are out here on bullshit, they now have a job. So the shit that Kanye was talking about, the shit that we're doing right now, is going on. We got shit going on right now that's saving the city. The numbers ain't going down just off, we don't feel like killing nobody today. Numbers going down because motherfuckers got shit to do.
I like the word unify, and I'm big on not liking words, and I love unify. That's we as a city have to unify, period. We all have to come and understand that we're in the city together.
I don't know what's, oh, this is Foot Locker, sorry. I never know what's next. So a couple more things. I think the one thing I want to focus on as well is that a lot of agencies have real work that they shot that's beautiful and epic and nice for clients. The difference with the Times is we shot, created, edited, created the music for every piece of this ourselves. So all of this is done in our in-house production studio. So the Times is an ad agency production studio. Another piece about culture I think is really interesting. A lot of agencies love to throw on the buzzword of culture, almost to the point where it's become an embarrassing word. But what they mean by culture is ping pong tables in an agency and free food and people being able to bring their dogs to the office. What we mean about culture is tapping into the creative culture that is all around us. Chicago is an amazing music city. There is more music going on here, especially in the world of hip hop, which is really the musical, I don't have to, you know, you're young people, so you know this, but it really is the musical voice of the youth, but also the beginning of a thread that runs through everything within sort of culture. So we do a lot of work with Chicago up-and-coming music artists in the form of creating album covers, producing their releases, and creating music videos. So I'm going to show you a couple of those. I'm going to skip this next one. Wait, I skipped twice, sorry. This is a video we created with a rapper here named Joey Perp with Chance the Rapper. We shot and created this in our studio for $3,000. This is just a teaser for the video.
Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit.
This next one is a new artist coming from Chicago called Happy Birthday Calvin. He's kind of exploding, and we really believe that he's going to be the next big star to come out of Chicago.
I can feel, know it's real, but I still can't get you out of my mind. Guess I'm wrong, if I'm wrong, why does everything I feel seem right? You can see what I see the shadows I used to stay too blind. Out of mind, out of mind. Out of line, relationship, bitch, say yeah, these niggas ain't shit. Yeah, these niggas ain't shit. Yeah, these niggas ain't shit. I say our relationship, bitch, say yeah, these niggas ain't shit. Yeah, these niggas ain't shit. Yeah, these niggas ain't shit. I'm like all the dogs, bitch, say yeah, these bitches ain't shit. Yeah, these bitches ain't shit. Yeah, these bitches ain't shit. I'm like all the dogs, bitch, say yeah, these bitches ain't shit. Yeah, these bitches ain't shit.
Okay. That's the work I had to share with you so far. That's all I got. I haven't looked at any of your questions. Greg was messaging me saying you were looking at a stop sharing screen. All right. Ricardo, I don't know if you want to start or how you want to do it. Hello. Ricardo, anyone? Roast beef?
Thanks, Jason.
Oh, good. There you go.
Sorry. So we have a couple of minutes for questions.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So first, Gus want to know how to introduce this way to create and do advertising when it comes to share and sell the idea to a client who's very use it in the typical way. He's from a small Mexican City, and sometimes the new ideas are not welcome?
I mean, that's the hard thing is, and it's also why I quit a highly lucrative kind of, in all intents and purposes, a successful advertising job, because clients, a culture of an agency, and then the culture, the situation that you're put into from clients is to act a certain way. And so I decided to really do it. I had to start from scratch. And I'm not saying that's all of you should do that, but I really do believe that the situation that we're all in right now with the global pandemic we're in, and once we get out of this, I believe in a creative revolution. We're mirroring and echoing what happened in the early 1920s, right? With the first pandemic flu. What came out of that was known as the Roaring '20s, which was society's release of creativity and art and music and letting loose after being cooped up for so long. And I believe that's what we're entering into now. And I think that in advertising, you're about to see a creative revolution of creative young people taking cameras into their own hands and making things their way and starting their own agencies. I believe, as far as if you have an existing agency to be able to do it, the biggest power you have is money. Most of the content I shared with you costs zero. You know, we don't have production budgets because we don't need them. If you're not spending a client's money, they're more apt to you to go out and do it. So a lot of times, rather than trying to go back and convince a client, we just turn around in our studio because we have cameras and drones and lights, and we just make the work ourselves and say, isn't this amazing? Isn't this awesome? Don't you want it? And if they don't, it's fine, because we'll just throw it out because it didn't cost us anything. It was kind of fun to do, and we'll make something else. So I find that if you could take money and budget out of the equation, people are a lot more apt to buy creative ideas.
Okay, thank you so much. We have another question. So it's from Enrique. He says, you mentioned that focus groups might be a waste of money for your client. Which research methods do you recommend when we have low budget?
So wait, say it again. What was the end?
When we have low budget, what do we have to do? I mean, which methods we should use?
I tend to believe this. I don't know if any of you, and I'm actually even consider myself more of a strategist than I even do as a creative. I really, and what I mean by that is all of my ideas always come from the psyche of the consumer you're trying to reach, whether that's young people or old people or suburban housewives. Is I really want to understand what is going on in their lives, what is going on in their personal culture. And I always try to pick from that. Social media is the best resource to do those things. How research works in advertising is the same way it's worked since the 1950s. You go in a glass room and you get paid $25 to $50 to $100 to sit there and listen to someone to tell you about this ad they're going to make. And then because you're getting paid that exchange for that money, you have to have a real opinion about what it is. It is like the movies. It's like Mad Men. People are behind a glass window watching and writing down every single word that these people say. The whole thing is fake and bullshit to begin with. And then you're creating and changing work based on that fake creative bullshit. Ask people, talk to them, reach out to them on social media. The majority of consumers live within your circle or your sort of radius of where you live. Ask your mom, ask your sister, what is going on in your life? What do you think about this? You're trying to speak to people. This is why I love advertising. You're trying to speak to diverse, different people than yourselves in a way that is going to be so relevant to them, they're going to respond. And I believe this is that modern advertising marketing, it's simple. There are two responses. When a post shows up on your Facebook, it shows up on your Instagram, it shows up on your pre-roll when you're trying to watch a YouTube video and that skip button comes up in the bottom 5 seconds. Every motherfucker is skipping on that video. You know it for a fact. You have a split second to make two decisions, which is, oh my God, this is so awesome. I'm sharing this with my friends, or fuck you, I hate you. Why are you on my feed? Those are the only two responses. So I really try to keep it that black and white when dealing and talking with clients. They have something that they want to say. They have a product they want to say. Say it in a way that's going to be resonant. Say it in a way that the only response is, oh my God, I'm sharing this with my friends. Your media dollars go from this to this if you're able to do that.
Okay, Jason, thank you very much for being here. Unfortunately, we don't have more time for questions, but we really appreciate that you could be here with us in the end of the world, as we know.
Awesome. And if any of you have questions, you could just, you could DM me on any social platforms and I'll ask them. I do believe this because I see some of your faces. You're all young people that are in school for the most part, or you just look younger than me. Don't take any shit. You're creative people and this is an awesome career path for you. Do things your way. Be optimistic and persistent. Great creative ideas cannot be questioned. No one will question you for being persistent about an amazing idea. And amazing ideas become from your mind, but also come from your persistency in making them happen. Selling, advertising, and marketing is not someone else's job. Selling your ideas is your job. Client wants to hear from you. That's why we got rid of or incorporated account management into every role that we sort of have. Talk to the client, be passionate, listen to what they have to say, create work based on what they're sort of saying. Thank you, I appreciate it. It's weird talking to a computer, but I can see your faces.
Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, guys.
Estamos a punto de iniciar la charla con Spooky, entonces por si quieren entrar, ya tienen sus códigos en su mail, entonces los esperamos en el siguiente. Jason, thanks for being here again.
Yep. I just put my email address in the chat if you guys want to send any questions or anything. And we'll send through the presentation. I'm sorry if it was glitchy or anything, but we'll send through the presentation if you guys want to see it. Thank you.
Okay, people, let's begin.
In 5, 4, 3, 2,